Got it. Hello, everyone. I guess I need to put my red glasses on so people probably know who I am. Um, I am Deidre Speaks Johnson. I am the National Programs and Strategic Planning Manager. And welcome to submitting Sero Microgrant Program and how to submit your application. I'm going to turn it over right now because we are providing interpretation services. So if you could, I would like to introduce you all to Aldo. Thank you.
Hola, les damos la bienvenida a esta presentación. Se lo voy a pasar a Aldo. Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good evening. I will be giving this announcement both in Spanish and English. Hola, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Voy a dar esta anuncio en español y en inglés. My name is Aldo, pronounced they, them, and today I have the pleasure to work with my colleague JD, pronounced she, they, and together we're going to provide simultaneous interpretation into Spanish and English. Hola, buenas tardes, buenas noches, mi nombre es Aldo, pronombre es ella. El día de hoy tengo el placer de trabajar con mi colega JD, pronombres ella o ella, y juntos vamos a proveer interpretación simultánea al español y al inglés. We're going to ask all participants to please speak at a moderate pace, like I'm doing right now, and loudly and clearly into the microphone to make interpretation easier. Le vamos a pedir a todos los participantes que por favor hablen a un ritmo moderado, como lo estoy haciendo yo ahora, y en voz alta y clara en sus micrófonos para facilitar la interpretación. We have already activated the interpretation function on Zoom, so if you're joining your computer, you will see a globe icon at the bottom of your screen. To listen to the interpretation into English, click on the globe and select your language. And we ask everyone who is not fully bilingual in Spanish and English to please turn on the interpretation. Now, if you're joining us on your smartphone or tablet, click on the three dots at the bottom right where it says More. Select Language Interpretation, select your language of choice, in this case it might be English, and finally click where it says Done, so you can start listening to the interpretation into English when someone speaks Spanish in this space. Ya hemos activado la función de interpretación en Zoom, así que usted debe poder ver el icono de un globo terráqueo, un globito, en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Para acceder a la interpretación, debe clic en el globito y seleccione su idioma. En este caso, puede tratarse del español. Les vamos a pedir encarecidamente a todas las personas que no dominan ambos idiomas, el español y el inglés, que por favor activen la interpretación. Ahora, si usted se ha conectado desde su teléfono inteligente o tableta, le va a dar clic en los tres puntitos que se encuentran en la parte inferior a mano derecha, donde dice más. Después va a seleccionar interpretación de idiomas. Después va a seleccionar su idioma. Nuevamente, en este caso, puede ser el español. Y por último, dele clic en finalizado para escuchar a la interpretación al español cuando alguien hable en inglés. If you have any issues, please feel free to write in the chat and someone from the team should be able to assist you. That's all from our end, and I'm going to finish in Spanish. Le pedimos que si tiene algún problema para conectarse a la interpretación, por favor escriba un comentario en el chat y alguien del equipo podrá asistirle. Eso es todo de nuestra parte y que tengan una excelente sesión. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, Aldo, so much for your services. We really appreciate that. And at Sero, we really honestly believe in providing justice language. So we want to welcome you all to our fourth round of our AMP grants. And if you could, in the chat, if you could tell us, please, in the chat, if you could tell us your name, your pronouns, and the state and where you're from. I know several people have already begun to do that in the chat. So we welcome you that are new, that are old, and that are being introduced to us for the first time. I, again, am Deidre Speaks Johnson. I am one of several presenters that you will hear from tonight. I'm the National Programs and Strategic Planning Manager, and I'm going to pass it over to Tana, as well as Kevin and Cindy to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tana Pardia, she, her, hers, and I am the AMP coordinator for the AMP grant moving forward, and I will pass it to Kevin.
Thank you so much, Tana. I am Kevin Lish, he, him, his pronouns. I'm the financial director at Sero, and I am proud to send it to my pal Cindy Stein.
Well, thank you, Kevin. My name is Cindy Stein, she, her, they, and I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm thrilled to be here doing this. And I will pass it on to Deidre.
Thank you all. If you were joining us a little earlier, you noticed that we have a lot of banter. We love each other a lot. And we also love the fact that we are able to share with you all today something that has been given to us for the last, now we're in our 4th year by ViiV Healthcare. And we are so excited to continue to have a 3-year incubator here at Sero Project. And this year we have 13 projects that will be chosen to, actually we, Sero, we're one of 13 projects that were chosen to fuel emerging programs and disrupt disparities in HIV care. And the AMP grant has been designed to support individuals that are taking creative, as well as unconventional and urgent approaches to grassroots changing, and especially for people living with HIV, by providing microgrants, mentorship, and network support. I know that there is an icon on this call right now who would say not only grassroots, but even the grass tops and the dirt advocacy, and we welcome you as well. And so we have had the pleasure of being able to fund groups and individuals that will be able to provide HIV criminalization projects so that we can further the efforts that are happening across the country. The blessing is, well, the great thing is that serving as your incubator, then you're able to actually submit original projects with innovative ideas and engagement efforts for people living with HIV and vulnerable to HIV. And it's such a privilege and a pleasure to be able to share this space with you all, especially for those that are really mostly directly in the hands of those most affected, impacted, and uplifting the leadership of people living with HIV. And we have the amazing ability at Sero Project to provide funds, capacity building, technical assistance, and much more to 8 awardees in this situation. Nope, I'm sorry, that's a typo. It's going to be 9 awardees, and we'll get into that in a second. I think this is where I hand this over to, because make sure. So meaningful involvement of people living with HIV. Many of you all have heard about this, and this is MIPA, and that is one of the strongholds that we have for this particular grant. We have 5 different areas that we will be, 5 different areas that we will be able to provide services for. And that is capacity building, technical assistance, mentorship, and much, much more. I said 5, but there's 4. And within that, you will see that we've had projects and programs that actually were able to be funded to provide that not only by us, but also to the community as well.
So, what projects are we going to fund? First of all, we're going to fund leadership opportunities for people living with HIV in state HIV criminalization coalition work. Secondly, strategic planning meetings for state coalitions working on HIV criminalization reform. Thirdly, community forums to educate community and legislators on HIV criminalization reform. Next, we have projects that promote racial justice. Lastly, financial justice for people living with HIV and HIV criminalization reform efforts, such as stipends and reimbursement for telephone, internet access, and technology, etc. Next slide. So what projects will we not fund? We will not fund lobbying efforts. We will not fund projects that don't center racial justice. We will not fund general operating expenses for an organization like rent, utilities, etc. Next, we will not fund projects that do not uplift the collective of the impact of HIV criminalization. Next, we will not fund projects that utilize more than 10% of the budget for conference attendees. And lastly, we will not fund projects outside of the United States. So, how many projects are going to be funded? This year, we will be offering 7 grants at $10,000. Next, we will offer 2 grants at $15,000. Only those that have been awarded previously. AMP grants will be eligible for this funding. And look at this slide to the right. It says, look at it, it pops out. Sustainability, grants, seeking, evaluation. I will not go over all of those, but this is what we are funding this year. Now, 2024-2025 timeline. AMP grant applications opens, how to apply webinar. That's what we're here for today. So next, AMP grant application closes October 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Pacific. AMP grant awardee letters will be released December 16th. AMP grant orientation webinar will be held January 9th of 2025.
Okay,
This goes to Kevin.
thank you.
Cindy,
Okay, now
Cindy.
the question here is, do you need to be a 501c3 to apply? And no, you do not. You know, we realize that people living with HIV and grassroots organizations may not have a 501c3, but we still strongly encourage you to apply. Sero will act as your fiscal sponsor and will waive all normal fiscal sponsor fees. But something to keep in mind that only applications from organizations and individuals with a budget under $250,000 will be considered. Next slide. Okay, our expectations of our grantees. Each grantee will provide a monthly update on work done, providing pictures, links to recordings, anything that we could report back to our grant. 1 monthly call with our TA, attend all TA webinars hosted by Sero. And this isn't very important. Only individuals and organizations awarded can submit invoices and attached receipts. And what that means is that your vendor cannot go directly to our financial department and send an invoice to be paid. It would have to be approved and signed off and sent by your organization. And that's really important. It keeps it, that's the way the process works. Any questions? Okay, and I'm going to pass it on to Kevin.
Hold on just a second. Brian,
He always has a question.
so I'm a lot. It's asking you to unmute, Brian.
Okay. Yeah, the question is about the part about the about only the person being able to submit invoices. So if you have a fiscal agent, will your fiscal agent be that go-to person, or will it still have to go through?
Now, if you have, are you asking if you have that if your organization has a fiscal sponsor and that you're going to be using your own fiscal sponsor, then it would go through them. It wouldn't go through Sero.
Okay.
Correct? Am I right with that?
Right. Yeah, that was what I was asking.
Well,
Hold
and
on.
if any piece, I would actually like to make sure with these AMP grants, Sero Project will serve as your fiscal sponsor for all of these AMP grants, and that's actually one of the requirements of the AMP grant. So when we were talking about the receipts, for example, if your vendor, I'm gonna say Walmart, has a receipt or invoice, they can't submit it just directly to us. They would need to submit it through you, Brian, as the whomever your lead person is on your grant. They would need to submit it through them, and that need to be approved by them to send to us, whom it would ultimately be Kevin for the receipts.
Okay, so you don't, if you have a fiscal sponsor, you would not use them, you would use Sero as the fiscal sponsor instead of
That
your
is
own. fiscal
that
sponsor.
is
Is that what-
correct. And we
Okay.
don't charge a fiscal sponsor fee at
So it
all.
wouldn't be a conflict if if I was doing another project too and had a fiscal sponsor handling that money.
No, no, it
Nope.
would
Okay.
not be.
Not at
Okay.
all. Not at all.
All right.
Good question,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Good question, Brian. Anybody else with a question? Brian, did you get your hand up again? Okay.
I'm just hitting things. I don't know what I'm hitting.
We see you.
No worries, no worries. And now we're about to go through each of the sections of the application.
And Melanie has a question too in the chat room.
I apologize. Let's see. So the question is to make sure I understand, all applicants must have a budget under 250K. That would be correct as an individual if you're an organization as well. So if you are, I'll say Walmart.com. Oh, I'm not giving so much praise to Walmart today, but then as long as their budget, operating budget is under 250K, then yes, they could apply.
And is there something I'm jumping the gun on about, is there some way that we have to document that or something that y'all haven't touched on yet, maybe?
Yep, we haven't gotten, we're
Oh,
about to
okay.
get into the.
You're going to be
the
getting
meat of
into
it.
that with Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So there's 9 sections to the application, and what we kind of alluded to on both, that you can be an individual or an organization to apply. The catch, if you were an organization, all budgets needs to be under your operating costs under 250K, $250,000. For section 1 and 2, both, whether you're individual applicant or organizational applicant, you would fill out sections 1 and 2. Section 3 would be just for individual projects, for individuals that are applying. And section 4 would be just for those that are organizations that are applying for the grant. Section 5 is going to be both individual and organization. And then section 6 is going to be for those applicants that you already have your 501c3. And so if you have that, if you're an individual and you have that then you would fill that out. If you're an organization, which maybe 9 times out of 10 you have that, then you would fill that out. If you do not have a 501c3, then the status with the IRS, then this section 6 is not for you. And then section 7, 8, and 9 are where some of that question that you asked, Brian, about uplifting, some of that comes in 6, for example, sharing some of that for your question. About to say next slide, please. And I'm the one who's doing the slides. So if you are awarded a microgrant, and like I said, we will be letting you all know at the end of December, first part of January, please save the date of January 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And that is when we will have our introduction to and welcome to the microgrant application through Sero Project, the AMP grant. Again, we just want to remind you that projects that are not eligible for funding no lobbying is allowed to be used for any of these funds, are not allowed to be used for that. No general operating costs, rent, utilities, for example. And then Sero will act as your fiscal sponsor fee. And fiscal sponsor, and we will waive those sponsor fees as well. So some places you may get charged 1, 2, 10, 20% on whatever your grant that you're bringing in. We want you all to have full access to all of the funds that you have, and because we know you all will be able to use it all, and that would be a great help. Okay, and so section 2 is going to be about your organization. We're asking both at this point, this is both the organization and individuals. In this, we're going to be asking you to give us your full name, your email, your address, your phone number, and then there's going to be some questions about basic demographic information and a primary contact. We suggest that it be the person that is filling out the application and would be the lead if we have any further questions on how to contact you, especially if you're awarded and or if we have other questions. Section 3, and this is for the individual only. We're asking that you provide an annual budget for your work. If you don't have an annual budget, like an organization say may have, or if this is your first time, then please type in 0. If this is your first time, or if you've done other projects, or also working on other projects, like what Brian said, then that's when that annual budget will come into play and where you will share that. But again, if you don't have that and that is your first, put 0. And then we would like for you to share the mission of your project and then also provide the geographic area served throughout this project. The next is going to be for organization. This is organization only. If you are an organization, you will fill out section 4. If you're an individual, pass go and go to section 5. This is where you will talk about your total budget as an organization, and you will summarize the organization's mission and also share the same when similar as the individual with the geographic area served. And please click any and all that do apply. And for section 5, I will say our section 5 is when we're going to be asking, and this is for both individual and organizational applicants. We're going to be asking you more about your intended audience and who they are. So tell us about who your project intends to serve. And that's going to include your age, the ages of the intended folks that will be impacted or participants, their gender, their race and ethnicity, their intended social economic status, their intended, making sure I'm not going too fast for our interpreters, intended self-identified HIV status. Some of this you may know, and some of this you may not. But this would be a great, are you going to be intended to work with people of HIV, a positive HIV status? What sexual orientations would you like to with intention work with that this project is going to be centering? And then as well, this is another one with the individual and the organization. Please provide the demographic for your I just did that one, sorry. Forgot we had changed it. And then section 6, I believe this is where I hand it over to the great Kevin Lish.
Why, thank you, Dieter Johnson. Section 6, this is the section that will be for applicants who have a 501c3. If you have a 501c3, we're going to ask you to upload your letter of determination. That is what the IRS sends you when your 501c3 is officially approved by the IRS. We're also going to ask you for your current nonprofit tax return, and that can either be a full Form 990. And for those of you that have never dabbled with a 501c3, the Form 990 is to a nonprofit organization what a Form 1040 is to us as individuals. It is just the number of the tax form that nonprofits file each year. And you can, if you have enough income in your nonprofit form, can either submit a 990, a 990 EZ, or a 990 postcard. We would like to see a current financial statement for your organization. You can easily upload it on the Google form. And then also a operating budget for your organization. So the first one the financial statement will kind of show us, where your organization stands. And then the operating budget will show us what you plan to do in the next 12 months. And then if you could give us a brief list of bios of your board of directors, just so we can see who's on the board. Brian, you have a question?
Yes, I was going to ask since I'm not a nonprofit, but I do have a current fiscal agent, can I get a letter, a certified letter or something from my fiscal agent to verify what my operating budget had been, which is under $250,000, by the way? Can I get something would I need that, or that's not applicable to me at all?
That's under this section, it is not applicable. I think there's going to be a place for individuals or organizations that are not 501c3s to upload an operational budget. And if it is more convenient for you, Brian, to get that from your current fiscal agent, that's perfect.
Okay. Now, I just want to might want something official looking, my elementary school writing is not the greatest official looking document. So
I understand. I type everything for that reason. My handwriting is horrible. So no, it's whatever is best for you.
Okay.
And if we could go to the next slide. Great. So now we're back to section 7. And these are the project specific questions. So again, everyone's going to answer these. The title of your project, project type, please choose all that apply from the drop down. Please enter your requested grant amount. Remember that a AMP grant is either 10,000 or 15,000 if you've had one before. I'm going to pause here just a second. Dwayne, if you're having problems unmuting, can you type your question in the chat? And then also a brief summary of your project. We would like to see 250 words or less. And remember, bullet points are your friends, and more importantly, they are definitely the reviewer's friends. If you can use bullet points wherever you can in your application, that would be lovely. Just, again, it's easier for you, and it's definitely easier for our wonderful reviewers when we get your application. Next slide, please. So Kelly Bell asked, if your organization is under a year old and does not have a yearly budget or fiscal statement, what do organizations, okay, so if your organization is under a year old and you haven't produced any fiscal statements yet, what I would do is type that out on a document, on a Word document or a Microsoft document, and upload that. Just tell us. We understand those things. And if you have not put together a yearly budget, again, tell us you're brand spanking new and you haven't had a chance to do that. You're working on it, whatever the case may be. Remember, these are for grassroots organizations that may just be starting. So we are going to make every accommodation to people that apply, because again, that's the reason there's a $250,000 cap. Larger organizations usually have plenty of sources of funding, and we want to help those of you on this call that are just starting or have a great idea to help reform HIV criminalization in your state.
Hi, Kevin. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Dwayne, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much for unmuting me. I did have a question pertaining to this very area that you're talking about. So with the current coalition, we had been funded before with you guys. And so we were looking at possibly switching fiscal sponsor, and they would be a 501c3. So the question that I had for you and anyone else who could answer on your team there, like, would that still be applicable where even though, you know, our person who will be directly responding to the opportunity, being a part of the last project, being able to be able to submit for that 15,000 versus that 10 that you guys have? What is your guidance around that?
Yeah, so let me answer that. I'll answer the first question about fiscal sponsorship. We unfortunately do not have the capacity to both review grants and fiscal sponsors. So because of some experiences in the past, the first year of the AMP grant, we have for this money, we don't want to be your entire fiscal sponsor, but if you're awarded an AMP grant for the AMP grant money only, we are going to ask that Sero serve as your fiscal sponsor. Now, if you get a $10,000 AMP grant and you have a $150,000 budget, that other 140 you can leave where it's currently fiscally sponsored. And then whether you apply for a 10,000 or a 15,000, again, if you have never been awarded an AMP grant before, you're eligible for the $10,000 grant opportunity. And if you have been awarded an AMP grant before, then you can go for the $15,000 opportunity. And when we release the app later on today, you can also, you'll be able to see your bet, and you can apply for both a 10,000 and if you've been awarded a grant before, and but you'll only be awarded one grant. You will not be, you can't be awarded two. How did that do, Dwayne? Did that answer your question?
I think you hit the mark for me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Okay, great. Okay, so section 8, this is your project narrative session. Let us know about the situation in which your organization works. Tell us about the area, why this project is really important, and what you've done in the past or you're currently doing that lets you make the observations about the situations in your current area. What is your organization's history with MIPA? Meaningful involvement of people living with HIV/AIDS. And there is no right or wrong answer for this. Just, you know, if it's something that you're just instituting in your organization, let us know. Every organization can always improve MIPA. And again, there's no right or wrong answer for this. Just be honest with us and let us know where you stand. And if you'd like to add, if you want some help with MIPA, let us know. And because remember, this is an incubator. Tell us about which groups you want to impact in addition to people living with HIV in your area. If you want to work, excuse me, with transgender men living with HIV in your area, let us know that. And I believe that's also a drop down, and you can choose all of the above, but just let us know. Now, we just want to know about your project. Please detail the use of the requested funds, the goals you want to reach, your activities to reach the goals, and the anticipated outcome of your project. And again, remember, my favorite saying, bullet points are your friend. And then why are you or your organization best equipped for this project in your area? And don't assume that we know that. Don't ever be hesitant to tell us how wonderful you are, because we need to know those kinds of things. Next slide, please, Deidre. Okay, so project narrative. Again, how does this project fit into your long-range goals of your organization or your efforts? How will the project help your efforts in your organization achieve its future goals? Then provide a brief evaluation plan of your project including how you're going to collect the information to base your evaluation on. Tell us how you're going to measure your success, identify challenge areas, and any opportunities that your organization digs up by doing this work. And then let us know how you're going to sustain the program at the end of the grant period. You know, it's great to have a great idea, but then let us know how you are going to keep it going. And remember, where this is an incubator, if these are things you need help with, please let us know, and we'll make sure that the appropriate staff at Sero talks to you about the where you actually need help. Next slide. Great. Section 9, attachments. This is where you can give us your project budget. When you see the application, you'll see that you can, we do have a budget form for your project budget. There's a link with a forced copy. So just follow the instructions on the screen, and when you're done, you will have your own copy that is yours to use. And then budget, please upload the most recent version of your organization's budget. If you are a 501c3, please upload the same budget you gave us in section 6. Here again, we don't mean to be repetitive, but you know, we are working with Google Forms, and we need to see budgets, and you'll have to upload it twice if you're a 501c3. Next slide. I think I'm turning it back over to one more. Then section 9 also has an upload where you can upload a fiscal sponsor agreement if you're not a 501c3. Again, the link is a forced copy. Again, remember to follow those instructions, and it will be a copy specific for you. Complete it and then upload it again to the application. And then a diversity table is for both organization and individuals. Do your best. If it asks for the people, it asks for your board, employees, and I think it also asks for the people you plan to serve. If you don't have a board, just put NA. If you don't have any employees, put NA. Again, we understand that these are grassroots efforts, and it may just be you, but if it is an organization, please complete the diversity table and upload it. And again, it's a forced copy there, so you can follow the instructions and download a copy that's distinct to you to re-upload to the application. Next slide, and I think I'm going to turn it over to my favorite Virginian, living in Virginia, Deidre, for her to take you through the summary and see if you all have any questions.
Well, in all honesty, the summary is the full application of it will have you section 1 through 9 that we just so hopefully adequately went over for you all. The one thing that we would love to make sure to stress to you all, that there are a couple of priorities that will be given. The very first is that projects must be centered around HIV criminalization efforts, coalition building, anything of the like. They cannot, if there's just a component, sorry, your application will not be looked at. We really want to center applications that will be furthering and making sure to acknowledge and also work towards criminalization efforts in your state. And that can be inclusive of working with your coalition or individual projects as well. And then as well as one of the other priorities is a priority is given to people living with HIV and those that are in the transgender community. And I'll pause there because I see my friend Brian has a question.
Has it always been centered around criminalization laws, your prior grants, or is this a new development? Or is this changed from previous years?
It has always been centered around HIV criminalization. In our first years, We did have where things were a little bit of a component of HIV criminalization. And one of the things that our funders has seen is the amazing work towards HIV criminalization that projects have done. And so they have asked us to make sure just to center that. And because we are Sero Project, and that is our main focus at Sero Project, then that is where we really amped it up in our second, third, and this definite fourth year on HIV criminalization focused projects.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Questions about the application? The application will be available as soon as we hit send. I mean, excuse me, not hit send, but that we stop this webinar. This will also be available online, and we'll be sending that off to you so that you have access to this webinar recording. And you can also click the links that are within the slides as well. And then I see Melanie has a question. Oh, let's make sure you can talk, Melanie. Melanie. There we go. S2. Let's
Yep,
try
you
it
can
now,
unmute
Melanie.
now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. I am planning on applying as an individual. I applied and was granted before, so I'm going for the 15,000. I
Okay.
also see as part of the webinar, someone from Free State Justice, who is part of our coalition. And would it be proper if they submitted one and I submit one?
My first response would be as the organization, if they are as an organization fit that under $250,000 dollar threshold as an organization for their budget, would be that first part. I would say that it would probably be competing, and if any piece that I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you all work together in some way to collaborate if it's going to be
Okay.
on the same and similar would be my suggestion.
Okay, got it.
I do have another question.
Yes.
So if someone is applying in your state for 15,000 and I'm applying for the 10, would that be considered competing, or because we're on different parts of the grant?
Well, the reason why I was specifically saying with Melanie, for example, depending because it in coalition together, and if they are doing the same type of a project, then yes, it would be competing. If it's something that's going to be up, two totally different projects, then no, that wouldn't be competing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that makes sense.
Well, kind of, sort of. I just know that they've applied. Someone in my state has applied before and received funding, so they would be on another. Maybe we would probably be applying for that 15,000. So I just wondered, even if the projects were similar, would it still be competing, and you would still look at the project at the face of it when awarding? So
That's correct. It would be, at that. And if you do, one of the things that we would suggest is that you partner together, if possible, but I also recognize that sometimes that's not feasible either.
yeah.
Just to be honest, I will also share with you all. These are stepping stones. We know people that have applied for these grants for the first time and have been awarded, and have done amazing things in their areas. about letting folks know about the laws in their state, helping folks to build speakers bureaus to help individuals to talk about not just HIV criminalization in their state and how other advocates and other community members can get involved. And that has been things that have been, and we really want you to center whatever state that you are in, that you are working in, or you fully reside in. Any other questions? Well, with that, we will say thank you so much. We will be sending out, and make sure to double check okay, cool. We'll be checking the chat. Everything is good. There are no questions there. We will be sending this recording out as well as the application link as well, for you all to start applying. And remember those dates that we have as a closing. Let me go back to those so that we can make sure that everybody just remembers those particular dates, because the application will be closing, and we will not be opening that up again. So, oops, go back. So please, if any piece in the meantime, please make sure just to note that we do have a few deadlines, and that deadline is on October the 22nd. The AMP grant application will close at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central.
Deidre, if I could add just a second, I just want to let everyone know the turnaround for the application isn't going to be within a half hour. I have to download it, then upload it to YouTube, and then get it in the notes document and all of that. So it will be tonight, but don't expect it right away.
Thank you, Tammy, for that. Well, we're going to stop the sharing there. And we're going to stop sharing the screen. And
Look, Tammy, I was expecting a Superwoman move like you always do.
Love you, Brian.
That's for sure. We sincerely thank all of y'all. Please share with your networks. Let your networks know that this is open for individuals. And again, it has to be centered HIV criminalization related. So looking forward. If y'all have questions, please don't hesitate. Ooh, that's the one thing that I did not share. Ooh, I might get put out the family. Hold on. Is our email addresses, and but we will make sure to also share that as well with you all. There we go.
I do have one question. Oh,
Yes.
is it too late? I did see that Lawrence asked about a documentary video for the grant. Is that something that is being entertained, or did they get an answer to that, or no?
Let me see where that is.
It was in the question and answer. Lawrence.
Brian, this is Kevin. I answered that. I am scanning my brain as fast as I can. If any other staff want to help me, I don't believe anyone has produced a documentary yet with an AMP grant. But I need to kind of go back through the projects and do a little research before I can definitively answer that one way or the other. But I don't think anyone has produced a documentary.
I believe you're right, Kev. I believe you're right. There's a lot of videos out there, but I don't believe it's a documentary.
Right.
That's correct. Lamar Yarborough out of the Atlanta area did do some videos, but it was documentary-esque, but it wasn't like a full 1 hour documentary.
Right.
And then Sanjay did some amazing podcast over the last year as well. And there's one more person that's out of Kansas City, my SPJI. Oh Lord,
Mario.
Demario, who also did some podcasts and speaking to different individuals in the community about their thoughts about HIV criminalization and HIV, and how it impacts them in the state. And then also other places they did some interviews, but a full-on documentary, not
Okay, but
to,
let me ask you this. Has anyone ever submitted a video application? And I guess that's when I first read documentary video for the grant. And that's what I was thinking, of video application. And is
I
that
don't
something
believe
that's
so.
acceptable?
no,
I don't believe
nobody
so.
has. Nobody has ever, because we've never had that. I wouldn't say we didn't have that capability, but this actually is, thank you, Brian, for, bringing this up as a possible, as a suggestion for next year, to be able to add that as an option to be able to do a video
Yeah.
submission, but we would
Yeah,
still
I
need to
think that would
have,
be great, a great addition, because you get a look into the character of the person also, as
yeah,
opposed to just words.
yeah, and we definitely would still need the budgets and those other pieces as well, the diversity tables, and that kind of thing, but that can be something, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All
Well,
great questions, Brian. Thank you.
well, we thank you all for coming, and we look forward to reviewing your applications. Please don't hesitate to